Hi, this is Paul Freed, the lead trainer at JMC. Before you watch this great video on the Minnesota Common Course catalog, I want to let you know this video is a couple years old, and we're going to be coming with a new instructional video for the Minnesota Common Course catalog this spring as more updates come out to the Minnesota Common Course catalog. But one thing I want you to note is that when you're watching the video, the only thing that you really want to note that is different is on the state reporting page. It looks much different now for Minnesota than it does in the video that you're going to watch. And one other important thing to note is that on this Minnesota state reporting document, which you want to make sure that you download, have at least as a digital copy on your website. I refer to it as a standalone document. We've incorporated it into this Minnesota Next Gen documentation. And if you scroll and you look at the table of contents, we've got the MCC procedures here, pages 7 through 9 currently, and then we've got other information here. But also you'll be able to see that we have different appendixes as well. Here's the MCCC down here, the calendar info and so on and so forth. And keep on going down here. There's appendices here. This Appendix E, the MCC Quick Start Guide, that's one of the things that I do note. So it's not a standalone doc anymore. It is part of this Minnesota documentation. Make sure to download it and refer to this. And then everything that you watch in this video will be correct, but it'll be referring to this document that I have here, not any pullout doc. So enjoy the rest of this video. Thank you for taking the time to watch this JMC Minnesota Common Course Catalog instructional video. Before we get started, I want to let you know that there are some really important resources that I would not move forward without using. And they're all listed on our state reporting page on our website. So our website, jmcinc.com, obviously you know where that is because you're watching this instructional video on that site. And go to the state reporting page. You might even gone here to see this instructional video here. I'm going to be in this instructional video following to its letter this quick guide right here. So if you don't have this quick guide, you need to pause the video and print out the quick guide. It's part of the documentation that's attached to this instructional video. In addition, you want to make sure that you've printed out and have, at least after this video is done, the Minnesota Common Course Catalog flowchart. I'll refer to that as well briefly. You want to make sure you know what that flowchart means and how that works, and I'll talk about that in a little bit as well. In addition, this is the link here for our Next Gen web-based MARS documentation, and it's now Minnesota MARS documentation, and this is for the pre-web. You want to make sure to have that as well. That has great documentation, not just for MARS, but MCCC as well, right down here, starting on page 35, with all kinds of pictures and so on there. So if I was you, I would watch this instructional video with the quick guide in hand. Let me get down here so I can show you here. There we go. So this starts MCCC. All kinds of great pictures in there that our person who does the documentation did. So it's a really great document to do. Here's my recommendation to you. If you haven't already done so, stop the video, print out the quick guide. You want to have that in front of you. I also would just print out the flow chart as well, so you have both those in front of you. Watch the entire instructional video, then go to the documentation here, peruse through the MCCC part, and then start to do your MCC information. If you call JMC and ask us for help, the first thing we're going to ask you, most likely, is where are you at in the MCCC quick guide, right? So the quick guide has to be your map. It has to be what you're going to be using as you go through this program. Don't just go through willy-nilly. Don't just go in and start putting stuff in, because there's certain steps that need to be followed. And these are not the steps that JMC has set. These are the steps that the state of Minnesota has set. We are simply the avenue for which you do your Minnesota Common Course Catalog reporting. So we are making it easier for you to do MCC reporting, but you have to follow the steps that the state says are the steps that you need to follow, or you might end up doing work that you may need to redo a little bit later. So really important, follow the JMC MCCC quick guide. All right, I'm going to start with that. I'm going to bring this up a few times to let you know where I'm at. I'm not going to read every single thing off of this form, but I will read a few things. The first one is number 1 right there, is that you need to configure your calendar on the MCCC web application here. I'm not going to go through all this, but this is not done. Number 1 is not done in JMC. Number 1 and 2 are not done in JMC. But you need to configure a calendar at the state website. If you need guidance from this, right? Here's the person that you call at MDE, and they can guide you. And we give you 3 important points. Every term that your school uses must be defined. Every term, semesters, quarters, trimesters, whatever, must be defined. The second one is every period right here needs to be defined. Has to be defined, okay, including period 0 if you use period 0, okay? And it says, note, All periods and terms would be needed for your calendar will be identified in the export summary. So once you've created that, and that is step one. Step one's not done in JMC. It's done on the state website. Then you need to export that calendar, and there's directions here for exporting the calendar as well. So export that calendar, right? Those are done outside of JMC. If you need help, those are not even done at JMC. Contact the state and they can help you with that step. It's not a hard step by any means, so it shouldn't make you nervous, but just go ahead and contact them. They'll help you do it. All right. The next step we get to is step number 3, which is to mass assign MCC course data. Okay, so it says use Minnesota MCC mass assign course data to assign values to course data elements, academic year, and calendar numbers for each building. Make sure to select the correct values for these data elements from the calendar export generated in step 2. So you take the calendar export, and from that calendar export, you get the academic year and calendar numbers, right? So you do the work at the state, you do the export, it gives you these numbers. Then these numbers can be mass assigned for each course instead of having to go to each course and enter them in. Where do you go? Minnesota MCC mass assign course data. So this is what it looks like. We go here to Minnesota MCC mass assign course data. Here's all the different elements that you can mass assign. It's up to you if you want to use those elements or not. You're the one that's in charge of your data. I'm mainly concerned with the academic year. You'll come in here, you'll put that value in here, enter that in, and assign value to the course data element, and that'll put it in for all the courses that are listed there. Okay. Then you come here and choose your calendar item there, assign value there, and that'll assign that value as well. If you need to do other ones, you sure can do that. But I would definitely touch base with the Minnesota Department of Education before you start mass assigning ones that are listed there. All right, that's that step. The next step here is to import course data from the prior year. Okay, so it says please refer to the JMC training videos. That's what you're watching now. Okay, but this option is found in Schedules Course to import course data. Right, so under Schedules, Course, import course data. So why is this feature here? This feature is here because most likely in the previous year that you've done your MCCC reporting, such as I'm in 2014, 2015 up here, I or somebody at my school in 2013, 2014 would have put a whole bunch of course information in there from Minnesota Common Course Catalog. That does not automatically carry to 2014, 2015 because 2014, 2015 was already created and the year was done, right? Before somebody even started doing 2013, 2014 course data. So if you have course data in 2013, 2014, which the majority of you have, now you might be a brand new charter school that is just starting out, and if that's true, you might not have any course data to import, so you wouldn't do this. But if you've done previous years of Minnesota Common Course Catalog, you'll come in here, choose last year's Next Gen course data. The vast majority of our clients, 99%, over 99% are probably on Next Gen now. If you're using pre-web, you sure can contact us. We can help you with that. But you're going to leave it on Next Gen course data and click Start Import, and that's going to import everything from the way I'm looking at this now, from my 13-14 school year into my 14-15 school year. That step is going to save you a lot of time of manually entering in Minnesota Common Course Catalog data. Okay. So once that's been done, and what we've done so far is we've come in and we have mass loaded the academic year and mass loaded the calendar and imported course data from the prior year. So a lot of the work should be done for you already. Okay. If you need to edit course data for individual courses, this option is found at Schedules, Course, Edit Course Data. Okay, this may be needed for new courses that did not import. So if you had courses in the year that you're working with that were not in last year, you'll definitely need to add that data in. And if any data needs to be edited, you would need to edit that as well. So where do we go here? We go to, I'm going to actually go back to my home screen so you know where we're going here. Schedules, Course, to Edit Course Data. Here's the Edit Course Data screen. This is my course number 1, Accounting. If you've never done any scheduling, anything like that before, I would probably watch my scheduling videos that I have on our website just to get an idea of what scheduling is. But in a nutshell, each course has its own page. This is course number 1, Accounting. I'm going to click my right button here. Here's course number, it's coming up here, number 2, Kindergarten Math, and so on and so forth. You can also type in different course names here if you want to, or the course numbers to find the course that you're working with. So let's look at course number 1, which is Accounting. Okay, so here's the course name, here's the term types, and so on and so forth. Here, all that information is going to be set up for you already because the year has already been passed. So here's the items that I'm most concerned with. Number 1 each course needs a teacher and a room. And I'll show you how to run a report in a little bit to make sure that you have those things listed. So a teacher and a room need to be listed. Okay. Then we need to go to the state specific section. In particular, the items that I would tell you to be most concerned about, or not concerned, but the ones that pay most attention to, is the instructional method and the marking indicator. So for each course and each section, right, an instructional method needs to be chosen and the marking indicator needs to be checked. Okay, when it's checked, we say it is true. Okay, now, and I want to tell you something. I'm not a Minnesota Common Course Catalog professional. I don't work for the state of Minnesota. We just create the tool to report. But my understanding is that most high school classes will be classroom. My also understanding is, and you can verify with the state, is that kindergarten through 8th grade classes need to be one of these four: classroom team, classroom self-contained, classroom looped, or classroom collaborative. That's only what I've been told by one of my programmers. I would check that before you go in and you start to change those for each course that you're working with there. So you can check these. You can edit any information that you want here, okay, including instructional minutes and instructional language if you needed to do that. Okay. In addition, we have the state-specific course item here. This is where the state course code is. This is what drives much of what's going on here. Each course is given a code, and I don't even know what those codes are, but those codes are determined by the state of Minnesota, not by the JMC. So if you don't have a state course code in there, you need to get the listing of state course codes from the state of Minnesota and then match up and say, oh, counting is this course. And this is how the state identifies what kind of course it is, right? So they got the state course code, and then they've got in here what's the sequence number, sequence limit, calendar. That's mass loaded in like we did in the previous step. Step number 3. Academic year, mass loaded, like step number 3. You can manually change them for courses if there was some courses that were different. And college code, college course code, college credits. And these are all if they're necessary, of course, right? What's the course level here? Standards addressed, okay? If there's a Perkin TSA, typically not applicable. And the record type as well, along with graduation requirement indicator and end of course indicator. Again, JMC is not MCCC professionals. If you want to know what each of those fields mean, please refer to the state of Minnesota. They've got some great training items and instructions for you to tell you what each of those particular items mean. Okay, going back to my documentation, okay, is the course index file. Now before I show you that, I do want to show you how to look up some information here. And the one thing you need to know is that each course needs to have a teacher and needs to have a room. And there's other data elements that we talked about as well. Instead of having to scroll through each course and look at each course, which you're not going to want to do, that's going to take too much time here. So for example, this course right here doesn't have a room. I'd have to adjust that if there were students in that particular course. And also, those need to be there for students that have courses in them. If there's no students in them, that's not going to be reported. That's not a course that you are concerned with. So you can go under Schedules, Course to Course Data List, under Schedules, Course to Course Data List, and run these different course information here. So I can go here first to my course schedule info and preview this and make sure that every course here, every course will be listed on the left-hand side. Okay. And I check this box, only include courses with students enrolled, because those are the courses that I'm concerned with here. Make sure that every course has a teacher and every course has a room listed there. Right, so I would say that. Then you could also go to course number and name expanded. I think it's helpful. I haven't looked at it. There we go. Yep. And there's some things there. Who's the person, the teacher, and so on and so forth. Instructional language, right? The method, and so on and so forth. There, the course level. You can create an export if you want to here as well, or course export. So this one might be helpful for you when you're looking at some of those other fields that are being used there as well. So that's a helpful tool there. Okay. All right. So anyways, what I want to say, just I'm kind of mumbling along there, is that this is a way to look at all your courses at one time instead of scrolling through each individual course. The course schedule info, really easy to use. The course number name is expanded. That's meant for the state of Minnesota. It's got a whole bunch of fields on there. I would probably come in here and create a course or a section export and look at it in a spreadsheet form. It's just a lot easier instead of this particular form that's listed here. Okay, let's go back to our guide here. We are on this one right here, the course index file, to create a course index file. Now, before we do this, we're going to do a little timeout here. I'm going to go back to my website and show you a very important document. This is the Minnesota Common Course Catalog flowchart. We created this for our clients, and it's actually being used throughout the state by many schools as a way to understand what steps need to be done when. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to open this up here. is the flow chart. This flow chart tells you what the examples are. Okay, so even you want to use this in conjunction with our Minnesota Quick Guide. It's not use one or the other, it's use both. So you see the start is to roll your MDE calendar forward, right? That's what we did there. And then what we does is each school, elementary, middle school, or high school, can import course data from the prior year and then edit that course data and then create and submit a course index file. Okay, so if you look at the sheet, the Minnesota Quick Guide, I'm going to go here to the Minnesota Quick Guide. Okay, Minnesota Quick Guide, right, says create a course index file, right? So the flowchart says the first thing to do is create a course index file. Now we tell you after that's done, and I'm going to show you how to do that in a minute, that all buildings must have configured the MD calendar and have successfully submitted a course index file and be error-free before moving to the next step, right? So if we look at our quick guide, number 6 says course index file. Use Minnesota MCCC course index file to create a course index file for upload. All buildings in your school must have a successful course index file. Upload with no errors before you attempt to submit an MCC staff file, which I'll talk about in a minute. If you're not sure the step has been completed, again, contact the state. They're the ones that are going to be the most helpful for you. Okay. It says note for K-8 reporting, you need only include courses for language arts and math at this time. So if you are a K-8 building, you don't know what courses you need language arts and math at this particular time. So to create that course index file, we are going to go, and I'm going to go back to my home page just to orientate you, to Minnesota MCC, to MCC course index file. First thing we do, check for errors. Okay, this is going to be an error report here. It's going to show you all the errors that you have here, and you might have some errors. If you've got some errors, you print those errors out and you fix those errors. If you need help understanding what those errors are, and we have a really good error report, so you should probably be able to figure most of them out yourself. If you need help, please give us a call here at JMC. But have that error report in hand so that you can tell us exactly what those errors are. Once you've fixed all your errors, then you can create a file. Okay, so then you can create the file to be able to upload to the state, and then you upload that again to the state website. Okay, all right. Once that's done, I'm going to go back to my flowchart. That has to be done for each building. Once each building has done that successfully, okay, these are basically just warnings telling you that each building has to do it successfully, then you can move to the next step, and that next step is listed right here. It's the staff file. The staff file, it says, before submitting a staff file, please make sure that, and these 3 items, very important. Number 1, every teacher has a file folder number under attendance, staff, and teachers. Every teacher has a file folder number, attendance, staff, and teachers. If you don't do this, you're going to get errors. Where do we go? Go back to my home screen. Go to attendance, staff, teachers. Here's all the teachers that we have here. Okay, I don't actually have any file folder numbers. These are blank here. So I make sure that it's one listed for each teacher. If they don't have one, you'd come in there, put the file folder number in there. Okay, and update for each teacher. Every teacher who teaches a course needs those file folder numbers listed there. All right. Then the next thing is every room has a site number in attendance, staff, and rooms. The site number can be found in the Minnesota Data Edit School Data under the school number column. Because you are reporting this data long after you rolled up your data for that year, you'll need to re-enter site numbers into your database for each MCC reporting year. Once the state catches up to the current year, then you wouldn't need to do that because we can roll that forward for you. Okay, but for any room that doesn't have a site number, you need to do that. So where do we do that? The first thing you do is you go to Minnesota Data Edit School Data. So again, going back to my home screen to orientate you, under Minnesota, okay, actually Mars, to edit school data. Minnesota Mars to edit school data. That's a little bit of a change because we changed up the menu items there, so you might want to make a note of that under that item. So this one right here on the MCC guide, this is actually should say Minnesota, okay, and then it should say Mars, okay, to edit school data here, okay. So once you've done that, to edit school data, here we go. Here is the school number listed right here, okay. And that school number is the number that needs to be entered in for the rooms. Where's the rooms done? Okay, the rooms are entered in again right here under attendance, staff, and rooms right here. So I'm going to go to attendance, staff, and rooms. Okay, and the site number is listed there. So I've got the site number in there already. If you didn't have a site number, you'd have to come in here and just type in what that site number is and click update. Okay, so put those site numbers in there for you. Okay, then the last item on our MCCC guide is every section has a teacher and room assigned in schedules, course, edit, course data. I showed you that already, so I'm not going to go back to it because I don't want this video to be too long. It says you may wish to view all courses by selecting schedules, course data list. I already showed that with you. That's where you could see all the courses at one time. And so I'll leave that to you in case you need some help with that. Okay, once that's done, then we move to step number 8, is the staff file. So it says use Minnesota MCCC staff file to create a course index file for upload. Every building in your district must have a successful course index file with no errors and so on and so forth. We've already discussed that, but that's so important that everybody has done these steps up here, right, before moving to these steps. That's why I remind you many times, because if not, you might be erasing somebody else's work. Okay, so once you submit a staff file, if you have errors, you can send a copy of the staff file and the MDE error report, okay, to these 2 emails right here, and they can help you with that. I would actually, you can do that. I might even just have you call tech support right away with that, because they might be able to help you with that as well. Might be easier for you, but you can, most of those things you're going to be able to figure out on your own as the program advances here. Okay, so where do we go to create that? Okay, we are going to go to Minnesota MCC staff file. Okay, check errors, right? That'll check errors there. If you've got errors, print them out, fix those, and then hit create a file. Okay, it says this option will create a file for the Minnesota Department of Education. Okay, then we go back to our flow chart, right? And we've mass assigned course data, and we create and submit a staff file that's listed there. Okay, now it says the elementary must have a successful staff upload before moving to the next step, the middle school, and so on and so forth. Okay, so again, refer here to these items here. Okay, and I'll go back to my MCC guide. Now the student file, which is the final file, you're almost done, is listed right here. It says use Minnesota MCC student file to create a course index file. You must have a successful staff file upload with no errors before submitting a student file. Right, and that's what that's telling you here. Now the thing that the picture is telling you here is actually saying that everybody needs to do all these steps before you can move forward. But once you reach this step here, each building can then proceed on their own. Okay, that's the state's steps, not JMC steps. Okay, so once you've mass assigned this course data and you've done a staff file, then we move to this one, which is create and submit a student file. Okay, it says when you export, I'm just starting right here, okay, when you export the student file from your JMC software, you'll see a JMC validation report that may alert you to some issues which you should fix and then create a new student file. Continue to fix all validation issues before submitting the student file. Once you submit the student file, if you have errors, you can send a copy again to us, or you can call JMC tech support. Okay, so I'm going to go to MCC here, taking you back to the home screen, Minnesota MCC, to MCC student file, right? And you can check errors again and then create that file, and that'll create that file and you can upload that. The one thing I didn't do in this video, and I've done it in a previous video, and I think it's important, but I wasn't prepped for it, and so I'll let you do a little bit on your own, is go to the Minnesota Department of Education website and go to their Minnesota Common Course Catalog page. They have a lot of great information there, right? I just strongly encourage schools, I'm the lead trainer here at JMC, is that don't be a person that just goes in and enters information and just hopes that it works and that it's just all magic to you, right? Take control of the information. Understand what's happening here. Understand that you are submitting course information. Understand that you are sending in staff information. Understand that you are sending in student information. If you don't know what a field means, right? If you come here to schedules, course, to edit course data, and you have no idea, you're in the high school and this is your first year, and you look at this right here and you don't even know what the college code means or the course level or something like that, go to the state website, look up in their data there what those items mean, so you have an understanding, so you're doing this information correctly, because that's going to save you time in the long run. The other thing that's going to save you time in the long run, just to repeat, and I'm going to end with this, is go under our state reporting page here, look at the MCCC update, download the documents, watch the video. That video is right here. That's what I'm making right now, and read these information here. And don't be afraid to check back every couple weeks or months to see where we're at, because we are doing our best to keep you updated on your requirements for the Minnesota Common Core catalog. Thank you for choosing JMC, and thank you for your time today.